This is another episode of Breakfast with Loui. And it's all done. Okay, so I'll see you next week. Continuing on where we left off last week-o. That was a rant that was very ranty. And today, maybe I'll do another rant that's ranty. I don't know. I never know where I'm going to go. But continuing on in the same type of trajectory. And I personally think, and the more I see the way things are going, I think Vandwellers and preppers in general are foolish. I think we are foolish to think that if something happens to society, that we're going to be able to escape it. Because if you are a prepper, you have your prepping places, and you could have 1 or 2 or 50 prepping places around the area that you live, within whatever radius of where you live. It could be 10 miles, 20 miles, 100 miles. And you can have different bunkers filled with food and water and supplies to last the rest of your life. You and your wife and your kids and friends, and you have all those things, and you think that you're all set and you're all good to go, and you're just waiting for the end of the world to come. And then you see the way things are going, and you're rubbing your hands together, and you're like, yeah, I'm all set. And you could also be a van dweller like myself, or RV dweller, whatever car dweller, whatever vehicle you travel in, and you make that your home on wheels. You think, yeah, I don't have a house. I'm not physically tied to anywhere. If something happens, I can just skedoodle and I can just leave and I'm going to be fine. Well, I think if we think like that, I think we are fools. I think we are idiots, all of us, fools, morons, including myself. So let me just turn this off so I don't get interrupted. 1 second. All right. So here's my take on why I think we are fools if we think society collapses and we're going to be okay because we can move. As I have already talked last week, the government can control a lot of things. They can control the way you buy stuff. So if they eliminate cash, if they say cash is no good, and credit cards, you can't have credit cards. And even if you have a credit card, they can tag what you are using the card for. So if you are using the card for something that the government deems you can't, then your card is going to be flagged and your card is not going to be any good. You can't use it for that particular purpose. Suppose that particular purpose is buying fuel. You want to skedoodle, you want to get out of Dodge, and all of a sudden you go to the gas station because you don't have any cash on you. You put the card in, or all your cards, and none of your cards work because the government says, you can't use it for gas. Gas is bad, cars are bad, or we just want to limit where you travel. And we don't want you to travel around the country. That's no good, That's only for us, the elitists. We can travel around the country and the globe in our private jets, polluting all we want, telling everybody not to pollute. But you are a peasant, and as such, low-life peasant, you are not allowed to drive your little car anywhere you want, or your motorcycle, or even your gas-pedaled bicycle. Yeah. So you are stuck. And what are you going to do then? There's nothing you can do. I mean, you got to park. You can park your vehicle, fill a backpack with stuff, and just walk. And I think in the end, that's what we're all going to have to do. If we want to go somewhere, if we want to get out of Dodge and skedoodle, we're going to have to fill a backpack with limited amount of supplies, because we can only carry a limited amount of supplies, and leave Dodge. How much stuff can you carry in backpack? I mean, I look at my van, and I have a small van, and I see all the stuff that I have in here. I couldn't even carry a case of water for too long. Eventually, I would have to either drink all of it on my way to where I'm going, or partially, or just carry a couple bottles with me and get rid of the rest. You just can't carry everything. I have cast iron skillet. I almost hit my face with it. And how would I carry this if I'm walking? This thing is heavy. I mean, this thing's got to be 10 pounds, 10. It's got to be over 10 pounds probably. Maybe. It's got to be close to 10 pounds maybe. I don't know, maybe 10, 5, 10, no, it's got to be more than that. That's maybe like 10 pounds almost. So, yeah, I could carry this thing for a while, but after a while, I'm gonna be like, you know what? It's not worth carrying this thing with me. I'll just have to cook on a spit, get a stick wherever I go, make a fire, and just put something on a stick and or on a rock or something, and you can't carry this thing. It's just impossible. And this whole conversation comes from something I just read the other day. And what I read, and my reason for saying that preppers and vandwellers are foolish, stupid, and morons, including myself, if I follow certain principles. And again, I'm going back to California, because California is a gold mine. It's an absolutely gold mine. They go from telling everyone that by 2035, all gas-powered vehicles are going to be eliminated. They're not going to be able to sell them in California anymore. You can't buy one in California. I don't know about bringing one from outside of the state, but in California you can't buy them anymore. Only EVs. And then a few days later they tell everybody excuse me they tell everybody with EVs, please don't charge your cars. Our grid system is to capacity. We can't do it anymore because we've eliminated fossil fuels to charge your EV. We don't like that. So you can't charge your EV, so you're stuck. So just recently I read another article, and this time I looked. I searched for it, and it was in different places, so this is actually a factual. Not that the other ones weren't, but sometimes I see something that catches my eye in different media, from different sources, and most likely it's a reliable source. Sometimes you never know, but you take everything you hear with a grain of salt, obviously. But this one was in different media, even government websites. So here's what happened. So California is going to ask, if you live in California, let's put it this way, and you don't know, maybe you don't know about this. So if you don't know about this and you live in California, do some research. But apparently, if you live in California and you live on your own land that you bought with your own money, that you pay taxes on, and you drill a water well so that you can have water to drink and to do whatever you need to do with your water, and you paid somebody to drill your well, and you did all that stuff with money that was taxed. Now the government, the wise government in California, is telling residents that they must report those wells and future wells, and you are going to be charged. You have to install a meter at your own cost from your own well, so you can tell the government how much water you are using, so you can pay the government for your own water, for your own well in your own land. So the government is going to control how much water you pump out of your own well. So here's where my prepper foolishness, stupidity comes in. Because if you have a piece of land somewhere, even if it's not in California, it doesn't matter. Eventually, this is going to go all over the globe, including all over the United States. One second. Before my coffee gets too cold. One second. Nice. I didn't want to waste my coffee. So, you are a prepper, and you live somewhere in the United States, or maybe somewhere in the world. But let's speak of the United States. This is where I live. It could apply to any one of you living outside of the United States. You you have a piece of land, and you put a bunker in there, and you have all this food in there and all these supplies to last multiple lifetimes, and you put a well in there that's hidden and all that. Well, the government will end up finding out about your well. Now I got the hiccups. I drank the coffee too fast. But the government will end up finding out about your well. They will, one way or another, they'll find out. I mean, they can find out by records. The company that drilled your well, they got paid, so they reported on the taxes if they did it that way, and the government knows this was reported for a well, and they know that you have a well in your land. They also know that if you have a residence somewhere, right, in a piece of land somewhere, and that's your residence, and you don't have city water going there, most likely you're going to have a well. So they're going to come looking for one. Maybe there's also technology that even from the air they can see that you have a well on your land. So I'm sure they're going to have ways to find out. So all your prepperness, all the work you've done, and now you're going to be left without water, because if the government can say you must install a meter on your own well so we can tax you on that, and then you have to pay them to pump your own water that you paid for to install the well, then they can certainly say, you know what, we're going to shut it down. We don't want you to pump your own water because maybe the water table is too low, or this or that. Certain states, I forget which ones, you cannot even catch water from your own roof. I don't remember. I don't know if it's Arizona, may not be Arizona. Some states, it is against the law, and if you get caught, you get fined, to catch water from your roof. You have a house, or you have a shed, you have a barn, and you put gutters around the roof and a barrel to catch the water so you can either drink it or use it for irrigation. Maybe you have a garden. It's against the law to do that. You can't do it. If you are caught, you can get fined, and who knows what else. It might even be in a great California state of I was going to say something else, but it might even be in California. I don't know. Who knows? But I forgot which state has that. If you know, put it in the comments below. I don't remember. But I've read that a while back. So this goes back to also van dwellers. If you think that because you have a van and you can travel freely, how are you going to do that when all currency goes digital and they say you can't, or they say I can't travel by imposing limits on how much gas I need? When I leave the East Coast and I go back to Arizona, let's say, it's about 2,600 miles, depending on which way I go. Something like that. I haven't checked recently, but it's something around those numbers. And even if my van does 500 miles per tank full, which it doesn't, especially not pulling the trailer, before, if I just go on a flat highway without going through hills and mountains and stuff like that, I could pretty much get about 500 miles if I was just going on a highway. Now it's about 400 and some miles, depending if it's more or less flat, but going out west, it's not going to be more or less flat. You're going to go through some hilly terrain, up and down, and you're going to use more fuel. So, but even if I used 500, if I did 500 miles per tank full, 2,500 miles, right? So 2,000 miles would be 4 tanks, and then another 500 miles would be 5 tanks. So it would be 6 tanks because I fill up before I leave, and then fill up, let's say, 5 more times, and that's just the minimum. So I need at least 6 tanks full to reach Arizona. It's more than that, but let's say just 6. Well, if the government says, you know, for a month, you can only fill up twice. Okay, so a full tank for me is, if let's say I'm empty, a full tank is about 31 gallons. So let's say I'm not fully empty, but let's say I put 30 gallons in there. So I had like a gallon and change in my tank. I put 30 gallons in there. I do it twice, it's 60 gallons. So let's say the government limits you on 100 gallons a month. So if I drive until I'm on fumes and I fill up, that's 30 gallons, and I already filled up before. So let's say I was on fumes and I filled up, so it's 60 gallons, and then I drive another 400 or 500 miles, probably more realistically like 3 something, 4 something, and then I fill up again, and that's another, let's say I was on fumes again, and that's another 30 gallons. So now I'm at 90. So now I drive another 300 and some miles, 400 some miles, depending on the terrain, and I go to fill up, and I'm only allotted 10 gallons because I reached my limit for the month, but I did all this traveling probably in a day or 2. So now I'm stuck. Whatever place I am, I'll be stuck for the remaining of the month. So if I started my travelings at the beginning of the month, now I'm going to be stuck somewhere for about 28, 27 days because I have to wait until my next allotted amount of fuel comes, which is the following month when I have another $100. It kind of works like your phone service. You know, you have a certain amount of high-speed gigabytes that you can use, and then when you reach that amount, they throttle you down. Well, with the government, they won't throttle you down. It's not like, okay, you can get 10 gallons or 15 gallons or whatever here and there once in a while. No, they'll just cut you off, and now you can't use anything. And I stuck. So if you stuck in a town somewhere that's a nice town, then you may have food and stuff for a while and water, but if you're stuck in the middle of nowhere, now you're going to be limited to what you have. But even if you're stuck somewhere in a town, who's to say now that the town is going to be friendly to you? Because if resources are being cut down and the town doesn't have the resources, now you're going to be a stranger in that town, and they're not going to look at you kindly because you are taking their resources away. They're being taxed for the water that they pump, or maybe they're limited on how much water they can pump. Maybe they can't even grow a garden anymore because the government is outlawing gardens. So there's going to come a time where this is going to happen. And if you think it's not going to happen, then you are a fool. You are an idiot, you are a moron, you are a fool. It's just the way it is. There's no other words to say what you are, because this is where it's going to come to. And this is just from a human perspective. This is just from a humanistic perspective. even if you don't believe that there's a God that created the heavens and the earth, I'm sure from a humanistic perspective, you see it coming. They're already talking about doing away with cash and going into a cashless society. That's already been spoken of. So the fact that that's going to happen, I don't think it's like some cuckoo conspiracy theorist. And I don't like conspiracy theories. I mean, I need like facts and stuff to prove it. I mean, I have friends that speak of this and that, and I'm like, listen, that's fine, that's what you think, but I'm not going to believe it until I actually see it, and I mean, like, for example, some people spoke of, when Trump lost the election, they're going to change the election, they're going to find proof and they're going to change it, it's already coming, I know it, I've heard it. I'm like, listen, that is all fine, but I won't believe it until I see it. And sure enough, that never happened. So I was right in being skeptical. I'm by nature skeptical. I need to see something. But these things, you have to be blind not to see them coming, even from a humanistic perspective. And then when you have the Bible to guide you, and you see what the Bible spoke of 2,000, 3,000 years ago, from Daniel to Revelation, you see that there's going to be a time where the whole world will be under a one world government and a one world monetary system. And I understand that years ago, 100 years ago, 50 years ago, it was hard to see that because we didn't have the technology to necessarily implement that. But now with AI, and I think AI is going to play a big role because AI can see almost everything at once, right? It's like being God, can see everything at once via cameras spread all over the world. Every town, every city, every state, every country has tons of cameras always filming everybody. And now with face recognition, AI could be tracking you as you go across the country. As you go to a gas station, they have cameras. AI is tapping into all those cameras and immediately recognizes you or recognizes your vehicle or your license plate, and can alert whoever needs to be alerted that, hey, this guy is traveling outside of the boundaries. They may even implement boundaries that if you are like me from South Dakota, you cannot go outside of South Dakota. Maybe I'm in Sioux Falls, so maybe I'm limited to the area of Sioux Falls. I cannot even go outside of Sioux Falls. And I would have to go back there and just be there, even though I don't technically live there. So it's a world that's coming, and if you are prepping and you think, oh, I'm going to have it, I have everything I need. Well, you bought your bunker probably with a credit card, maybe you paid it cash, but maybe you used a credit card. So the government, especially with AI capable of going back and sifting through all that data, they're going to know that you have a bunker. They're going to know where to look for you. They're going to find with infrared and different technologies, they can find you in the ground pretty easily. So you're not going to be safe. And even if you have a bunker, or even if you have 100 bunkers within 100 miles of your domicile, and you think you're going to be protected, you could be in between bunkers when the world goes into chaos, and you may not be able to make it to your bunker. You may die driving in an accident. A lot of things can happen to you because because you have this feeling that you're going to be protected because you have all these bunkers, but something could happen to you in between the bunkers and you never make it. So in the end, folks, if you are an atheist, I would advise you to look into what the Bible has to say about all this, because it's already been written. It was written a long time ago that this stuff was going to happen, and the world is going head first and butt first and legs first and feet first and everything first into this, and it's going to happen from environmentalists, green movement, going to this direction where it's like a worship of the planet. It's Mother Earth, and I have some people that comment and write that about Mother. And I always say, it's not Mother Earth. Earth is creation. God is the creator. So people, and the Bible speaks of that in the end times, people will be lovers of creation instead of the creator. And we are seeing it happening before our eyes. People are worshiping creation. In years past, you would say, oh, that's never gonna happen. People are not going to be worshiping creation. And now look, they are worshiping creation again. They are worshiping the trees and the fish of the sea and this and that. And there's nothing wrong with wanting clean waters and a clean environment. I mean, I'm all for that. But when you start worshiping the planet instead of the creator, when you start worshiping different systems instead of God, then you are dooming yourself and you are dooming society. And this is the way we are going, folks. You may not believe it, but it's going to happen. It doesn't matter if you believe it or not. It doesn't matter even if you believe in God, because he believes in you and he knows you. But it doesn't matter if you believe in him or not. He's given you all the evidence you need from the universe to us. He's given us humans all the evidence that we need. All you have to do is go through to your DNA. Okay, DNA that's in every cell of our bodies. The DNA that makes us who we are. It's a genetic code. And it's a code that if it was written in encyclopedias, it would fill volumes and volumes, very thick books of encyclopedia books. They're books, and you know what I mean. I'll pull a Biden. You know what I mean, man. You know what I mean. Of course you know what I mean. It's you know what I mean. It's the thing, man. It's the thing. Everybody knows the thing. But yes, so if you wrote the human DNA in books, like encyclopedia-sized books, it would be quite a huge volume of books to fill all the code that's in our DNA. And the code has to be sequential. So if you jumble it around, if you just put it in books jumbled, then you're not going to have a human. It's not going to work. It has to be in sequence. So to say that happened by accident is pretty foolish, and that's what a lot of scientists, mainstream scientists, believe. They just think that happened by accident. They think that the whole universe just happened by accident, that something came from nothing, and order came from disorder, but we see order in the universe. We see even just from our solar system, where the planets just keep going around in an orderly fashion, and they can know 1,000 years from now exactly where the planets are going to be, or 1,000 years in the past where the planets were. That comes from order, not disorder. Even though our universe is going into disorder, there's still order because it's been programmed by a creator. And the same goes for our DNA and the DNA of every single living thing. So if you think that DNA that fills books, entire encyclopedias, if you think that happened purely by chance, then congratulations, because you have a lot more faith than I do. I believe that God created the universe and man. But it takes a lot more faith to believe that this DNA alone came about by chance. You know, the chance alone of a page, a single page, to be written correctly it would be mind-boggling. It would be infinitely impossible. What's the word? I forgot the word. It would be not statistically impossible. But you don't have just one page. You have thousands of pages. So, and you know, if you don't believe in that, you just don't believe in everything. It's not like you don't believe in anything. You just believe in blind foolishness, and if you believe in what makes you feel good. So whatever in the moment makes you feel good, if that is to worship a tree, or worship the ocean, or worship a fish, or worship a fly, or worship whatever, the climate changing, whatever, that you think it's caused by us and not by a sun that's 93 million miles away, burning very hot. If you think we are the cause, and that's what you worship because it makes you feel good, then you're going to go head first into anything that's going to come. So when the end comes, you know, you're just going to go head first. But hopefully some of you listening to me will at least do some research and maybe check things out. And maybe when bad times really come and the one world government comes, you're not going to go head first into that. Maybe if you are listening to this and that happens soon in our lifetime, maybe this will play in your head, and maybe this will save you. You know, I can't save you. I'm not God. You have to look at God for salvation, not me. I'm just speaking of stuff. And having said that, I think I've spoke for too long, and my coffee is gone, so I can't drink any more coffee. So until next time, folks, I'll see you around.